Doctor desperate without a surgeon, until nurse's prodigy son steps in and amazes. Dr. Richard Anderson felt his hands shaking for the first time in 30 years of medicine. On the gurney before him lay Michael Thompson, a 52-year-old businessman who urgently needed complex heart surgery. But the only surgeon at St. Vincent Medical Center had been stuck in traffic for 2 hours after an accident completely blocked the main highway in San Diego. The heart monitor began beeping faster and faster, and Richard knew he had at most 15 minutes before the patient would suffer irreversible collapse. Rosemary Williams, the head nurse, watched the scene with growing nervousness as her 15-year-old son Ryan stood motionless in the corner of the operating room, wearing the green scrubs she had managed to get for him during this special shift. "Doctor, what are we going to do?" Rosemary whispered, stepping closer to the operating table. "Doctor, Carter said it'll take at least another hour for him to arrive." Richard tried to stabilize the patient's vitals, but his hands, skilled in diagnosis, lacked the millimeter precision required for heart surgery. He was an excellent general practitioner, but had never operated on a heart in his entire career. "I don't know, Rose, I don't know," he murmured, running a hand through his graying hair. "If we try to transfer him to another hospital in this condition, he won't survive the trip." It was then that Ryan stepped forward, but Rosemary immediately pulled him back by the arm, whispering in his ear about the devastating consequences if anyone found out what he knew how to do. The boy had memorized every medical procedure since he was 8, devouring the books his mother brought home from the hospital, but Rosemary strictly forbade him from revealing his knowledge, especially after learning that the hospital director, Dr. August Miller, despised prodigies due to traumatic past experiences. Michael's daughter, Patricia Thompson, 28, burst into the room at that moment, ignoring the security team's protests. "Please, save my father," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "He's all I have. Since I lost my job at the bank, he's been supporting the whole family alone." Ryan watched the young woman's desperation and could no longer stay still. Against all his mother's warnings, he approached Dr. Richard. "Doctor, you need to perform a double bypass with an internal mammary artery graft," the teenager said with a confidence that stunned the entire team. "The anterior descending artery is 70% blocked, and the circumflex is almost completely obstructed." Richard stopped moving and stared at the boy. "How do you know that?" he asked, incredulous. "I saw the tests before you came in. The catheterization clearly shows you need to open the chest through a median stenotomy, connect the extracorporeal circulation, and work on the stopped heart," Ryan continued, describing each step with a technical precision that left everyone speechless. Rosemary tried to pull her son back again, but Richard stopped her. "Let him speak, Rose. Let him speak." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. "Ryan, are you sure about what you're saying?" Richard asked, torn between disbelief and desperate hope. "Yes, doctor. I know exactly what needs to be done. You'll need to perform 2 anastomoses, one in the middle third of the anterior descending artery and another in the obtuse marginal. The aortic clamping time can't exceed 90 minutes to avoid myocardial damage." The medical team fell into absolute silence. This wasn't the kind of information an ordinary teenager should know. "Ryan," Rosemary intervened, her voice trembling, "you can't—" "Mom, the man will die if we don't do something right now," Ryan replied, using the words she had always forbidden him from saying in the hospital. "Remember Mr. John, our neighbor, when he choked on that piece of meat last Christmas?" Richard vaguely recalled hearing a story about a boy who saved a man's life by performing an emergency tracheotomy with a pen. At the time, he thought it was just another urban legend. "Was that you?" the doctor asked. "I was 12. I used a Bic pen and a soda straw. I had no other choice." Rosemary began to cry, finally revealing the secret she had kept for so many years. "Dr. Richard, my son has a photographic memory. He's been watching every surgery through the hospital's security cameras for 7 years. I let him do it because I thought it was just childish curiosity." "Through the cameras?" Richard questioned. "I work in the monitoring center on weekends to make extra money," Rosemary explained. "Ryan always comes with me, and he watches every procedure. He's seen over 500 different surgeries. At that moment, Dr. August Miller, the hospital director, was alerted by the commotion and stormed into the operating room. "What's going on here? Why is this boy in my operating room?" shouted the 60-year-old man, his hair completely white, his face twisted in anger. "Dr. Miller, you need to hear," Richard began. "I don't need to hear anything. Get this boy out of here immediately. You know very well I don't tolerate children playing doctor in my hospital." Ryan, who until then had shown nothing but confidence, lowered his head and murmured, "Dr. Miller, I know about your son." The director froze. "What did you say?" "I know your son Marcus was a prodigy too, that he passed the medical school entrance exam at 15, that he was pushed too hard and ended up with severe burnout by 16, that he never wanted to touch a medical book again and now lives in a psychiatric clinic in Los Angeles." The silence in the operating room was deafening. No one had ever dared mention Dr. Miller's son in front of him. "How do you know this?" the director whispered, his voice breaking. "Because I read the articles you published about him when he was a child. I also read the interviews you gave later, talking about the dangers of pushing gifted children too hard. I understand why you're afraid," Ryan answered with striking maturity. "But I'm not being forced. I choose to study medicine because it's what I love." Michael Thompson chose that exact moment to go into cardiac arrest. The monitor blared a deafening alarm, and Richard realized there was no more time for philosophical debates. "Dr. Miller, I'll take full legal responsibility," Richard declared. "But this boy is our only chance to save this man." The director looked at the patient, then at Ryan, and finally nodded. "Do what you have to do. I'll document everything as your responsibility, Dr. Anderson." Ryan immediately took control of the situation. "Dr. Richard, I'll guide you verbally through every step. First, we need to establish extracorporeal circulation. We have to cannulate the ascending aorta and the right atrium." Richard had never felt so nervous in his entire career, but there was something in Ryan's voice that radiated contagious confidence. The boy wasn't nervous, he was focused. "Make a 15-centimeter incision in the middle of the chest, from the sternal notch to the xiphoid process," instructed Ryan. "Use the electrocautery to control bleeding from the soft tissues." As Richard worked, Ryan continued giving precise instructions for every move. It was as if the teenager had a detailed map of the human body engraved in his memory. "Now use the sternal saw to open the bone. Be careful with the pleura. Keep the line right in the middle to avoid damaging the internal vessels." Patricia watched everything through the glass, not fully understanding what was happening, but realizing that this boy, who seemed the same age as her younger brother, was somehow saving her father's life. "Ryan," Richard said, pausing for a moment, "I need to know. Where else did you learn this? Just watching surgeries isn't enough for this level of knowledge." The young man hesitated for a moment, glancing at his mother. "You can tell them, son," Rosemary said with resignation. "It's gone too far to hide anything now." "I built a homemade surgical simulator in our backyard," Ryan confessed. "I use meat scraps from the butcher, silicone tubing from the medical supply warehouse, and I've even bought a pig's heart a few times to practice sutures." "And who taught you the practical techniques?" asked Dr. Miller, who had stepped closer to observe. "Dr. Edward Parker." Everyone in the room was stunned. Edward Parker had been the head of cardiac surgery at St. Vincent Medical Center until 5 years ago, when he lost his medical license for advocating unconventional teaching methods. "Edward is involved in this?" Richard asked without stopping his work. "He lives on the same street as us," Rosemary explained. "When he found out Ryan was interested in medicine, he offered to mentor him. I thought it was just theory." "Where is Edward now?" Dr. Miller questioned. "Right here," said a familiar voice from the door. Edward Parker, a 65-year-old man with completely white hair and a kind smile, walked into the operating room wearing scrubs as if he had never left. "Edward, you can't be here," Dr. Miller exclaimed. "Your license was revoked." "August, I'm not operating. I'm just observing one of the most talented doctors I've ever known save a life," Edward replied calmly. "And by the way, my license was suspended, not revoked. The difference is, I can get it back anytime I want to go through the board's evaluation." "Why haven't you done that?" Richard asked, still focused on the surgery. "Because I was waiting for the right moment, and that moment is now." Ryan continued guiding Richard through the most critical steps of the surgery. For nearly 3 hours, the teenager demonstrated knowledge that even impressed Edward, his secret mentor. "Now we'll do the first anastomosis," Ryan instructed. "Use 7-0-proline and make continuous stitches. The tension has to be perfect, not too tight, not too loose." Dr. Carter, the surgeon originally assigned to the operation, finally arrived at the hospital. But when he saw what was happening in the operating room, he decided to observe from outside. "Who is that boy?" he asked a nurse. "That's Ryan, Rosemary's son. He's saving your patient's life." Carter watched for another 20 minutes and finally entered the room. "Dr. Anderson, should I take over from here?" he offered. "Actually, Dr. Carter," Richard replied, "I think it's better not to interrupt now. We're almost done, and a change in command at this point could be dangerous for the patient." Carter observed the work being done and was genuinely impressed. "This boy has steadier hands than many residents I've seen," he whispered to Edward. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. 2 hours later, Ryan guided Richard through the final stitch of the second anastomosis. "Now we can remove the aortic clamp and restore circulation," said the young man. "On 3, 2, 1, Michael's heart began beating strongly again, and all the monitor's parameters stabilized immediately. "It worked," whispered Patricia, who had been granted permission to observe the final minutes of the surgery. "My God, it worked." Ryan, who had remained focused throughout the entire operation, suddenly began trembling and collapsed into a chair, exhausted. "Mom," he murmured weakly, "I think I need a glass of water." Rose rushed to hug her son, crying with relief and pride at the same time. "You did it, my love, you really did it." Dr. Miller approached Ryan with an expression the young man couldn't quite read. "Son, I need to talk to you." Ryan braced himself for the scolding of his life, but what came next was something entirely different. "For the past 5 years, I've been afraid another prodigy would walk into my hospital and that I'd repeat the same mistakes I made with my son," the director confessed. "But watching you today, I realized one fundamental difference." "What difference, Doctor?" Ryan asked timidly. "My son was pressured by me. You were guided by your own passion, and that makes all the difference in the world." Edward stepped closer to the group. "August, I'd like to make a proposal," he said. "How about we create a special program at the hospital to identify and mentor young talents like Ryan, but with proper psychological support and no pressure?" "Go on," replied Dr. Miller, intrigued. "We could partner with local schools, identify students with an interest and aptitude for medicine, and develop a gradual mentorship program. No forcing, just offering opportunities to those with a true calling." Ryan looked at his mother, expecting her to object, but Rose surprised everyone. "I think it's a wonderful idea," she said, "but on one condition. Ryan remains a child outside the hospital. No interviews, no publicity, nothing that could interfere with his normal development." "I completely agree," said Dr. Miller. "In fact, I'd like this program to be designed precisely to avoid the mistakes I made in the past." Patricia, who had been listening quietly, approached Ryan. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, tears still in her eyes. "You saved my father. I just did what needed to be done," Ryan replied, still a little shy. "No, you did so much more. You gave me back my family." In the days that followed, Ryan's story began to spread through the hospital, but Dr. Miller made sure to keep everything confidential to protect the young man. Meanwhile, Michael Thompson recovered quickly in his room. A week after the surgery, Michael was discharged and made a point of speaking to Ryan in person. "Young man, I can never repay what you've done for me," the businessman said, "but I'd like to make you an offer that might interest you." "What kind of offer, Mr. Michael?" Ryan asked. "I've always invested part of my profits in scholarships for talented kids from underprivileged backgrounds. Ironically, the person who saved me is exactly the kind of young man I've always tried to help." Michael explained that he had founded an organization funding education for underprivileged youth with exceptional academic potential. "I'd like to sponsor your education, Ryan. Not just medical school, but also supplementary courses, conferences, Anything that can help you develop your talent." "That's very generous, Mr. Michael," replied Rosemary, "but we don't want our son to feel pressured." "Mum," Ryan interrupted, "I accept, but on one condition. I want to use this knowledge to help people like us, who rely on public hospitals and don't always have access to the best treatments." Michael smiled. "Perfect. That's exactly what I hoped to hear." 3 months later, the Young Mentorship Program at St. Vincent Medical Center was officially up and running. Edward Parker had regained his medical license and become the project coordinator. Dr. Miller had become the initiative's biggest advocate and even started therapy to better cope with the trauma related to his own son. Ryan continued his normal school studies, but now spent 2 afternoons a week at the hospital, observing surgeries and participating in clinical case discussions. He never stepped into an operating room as the lead again, but everyone knew that day had marked the beginning of something very special. 6 months later, during a cardiology conference in Los Angeles, Edward presented a paper on identifying and nurturing early talent in medicine, using Ryan's case as an example. The paper made such an impact that hospitals across the country began seeking information on how to implement similar programs. "Dr. Parker," asked a cardiologist from Denver after the presentation, "does this boy plan to specialize in cardiology?" "Actually, Ryan is interested in general surgery," Edward replied. "He says he wants to be able to operate on any part of the human body, not just the heart." "And when does he plan to take the college entrance exam?" "There are still 3 years left. We're letting him enjoy his adolescence. There's plenty of time for medical school." Meanwhile, in San Diego, Ryan was living a normal teenage life, playing soccer with friends, dating a classmate, and earning top grades in all his subjects. The only difference was that twice a week, he'd put on green scrubs and become the young prodigy who had impressed the entire medical team at St. Vincent Medical Center. 1 year after the surgery that changed everything, Michael Thompson organized a special dinner to celebrate his first anniversary of his new life, as he called it. "Ryan," Michael said during dinner, "I have a surprise for you." The businessman handed the young man a sealed envelope. "What's this?" Ryan asked, curious. "Open it and see." Inside the envelope was a conditional acceptance letter to Stanford University School of Medicine. "Mr. Michael, I haven't even taken the entrance exam yet," Ryan said, confused. "It's a conditional acceptance," Michael explained. "They've agreed to reserve a spot for you, as long as you maintain your current grades and pass the exam when the time comes." "But is that possible?" Rosemary asked. "When you save the life of someone with good connections at the university, certain things become possible," Michael replied with a smile. Ryan stared at the letter for a long time. "It's an honor to receive this," he finally said. "But I think I want to take the exam normally. I want to earn my spot on my own merit." Michael laughed. "I expected you to say that. Actually, this letter is just a backup. If for some reason you don't get in on your own, it'll be here waiting." 2 years passed. Ryan was in his senior year of high school, maintaining his hospital activities and preparing for the entrance exam. During this time, he had observed over 200 different surgeries and participated in numerous complex clinical cases. One day, Dr. Carter approached him with an unusual proposal. "Ryan, I'd like you to present a clinical case at the next Congress of the American Society of Cardiac Surgery." "Present how?" asked the young man. "You'll talk about your experience guiding a complex cardiac surgery at 15. It's a unique case in global medical literature." Ryan hesitated. "Doctor, I don't want to become a circus act." "That's not it," Carter assured him. "The idea is to present the case from an educational perspective, how hospitals can responsibly identify and develop young talents." After speaking with his family and Edward, Ryan agreed to participate in the Congress. His presentation was an absolute success, and he received offers from several American universities and even some foreign ones. "Ryan," said a professor from Harvard Medical School after the presentation, "have you ever considered joining an undergraduate program in the United States?" "Thank you for the offer, Professor," Ryan replied politely, "but I plan to study in the US. I want to develop solutions for the problems of American medicine." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. On the day Ryan turned 18, he took the medical school entrance exams for 3 universities: Stanford, UCLA, and San Diego State University. He was accepted into all 3, ranking first. "So, son?" asked Rosemary. "Which one will you choose?" "The one here, Mom, San Diego State." "Why?" Edward questioned. "Stanford has much more prestige." "Because I want to make a difference in my own community first," Ryan explained. "This is where I learned everything I know, where people believed in me. It's here I want to start giving back." Ryan's decision sparked heated debates among the doctors at St. Vincent Medical Center, but Dr. Miller fully supported the young man's choice. "He's right," the director said. "Great careers aren't built only at famous universities. They're built with dedication and purpose, no matter the place." Ryan began medical school at San Diego State University at 18, officially the youngest student in his class, but not the least experienced. His professors quickly realized they had someone special among them. During his first year, Ryan continued his activities at St. Vincent Medical Center, now as the official mentor of the expanded youth mentorship program, which served 15 teenagers from across the region. "Dr. Parker," Ryan said during one of the program's weekly meetings, "I have an idea." "Go ahead." "What if we create a system where the kids in the program can observe surgeries in real time through an online stream? That way, even those who can't come to the hospital can learn." Edward smiled. Ryan kept surprising them with innovative ideas. "That's an excellent idea. I'll talk to Dr. Miller about the technical implementation." The online streaming system was a huge success. Within 6 months, over 300 young people from across Los Angeles were participating in St. Vincent's virtual learning sessions. During his second year of medical school, Ryan faced his first major ethical dilemma. While on observation duty, he witnessed a medical error that could have serious consequences for a patient. Dr. Miller noticed Ryan was troubled and called him aside. "What's bothering you?" the director asked. Ryan hesitated, torn between loyalty to his colleagues and responsibility to the patient. "Doctor, I saw Dr. Williams mix up the medication dosages for the patient in bed 7. He was exhausted and confused the charts." "And what did you do?" "I discreetly corrected the medication without anyone noticing. But I feel bad for not saying anything." Dr. Miller reflected for a moment. "Ryan, you did the right thing by correcting the mistake and protecting the patient. Now you need to do the second right thing. Talk to Dr. Williams about what happened." "But what if he gets mad at me?" "Then that means he's not the kind of doctor who should be working here. A good doctor always appreciates it when someone prevents them from making a mistake." Ryan followed the advice and spoke with Dr. Williams, who was initially embarrassed but later thanked him for the intervention. "You're right, Ryan. I had been working for 18 hours straight and shouldn't have been treating patients in that state," the doctor admitted. "Thank you for correcting my mistake." The incident became a case study in the mentorship program on the importance of ethical responsibility in medicine. In his third year of medical school, Ryan faced his biggest personal challenge yet. During a practical anatomy class, he fainted while making his first incision on a cadaver. "I don't understand," he said to Edward afterward. "I've watched hundreds of surgeries, even guided a complex operation, but when it came to cutting into a body that wasn't alive, I just froze." "That's more common than you think," Edward reassured him. "There's a psychological difference between working to save a life and working on a lifeless body. Many excellent doctors struggle with anatomy classes. But how do I get past this? With time and practice, and by always remembering that you're studying to save lives, not just examining a body." Ryan gradually overcame his difficulty with anatomy classes by developing a mental technique where he visualized each body structure as part of a living system he could help repair in the future. In his 4th year, Ryan participated in his first exchange program, spending 3 months at a rural hospital in the heart of Alaska. The experience was transformative. "Dr. Parker, you wouldn't believe the working conditions there," Ryan reported via video call. "The doctors perform miracles with minimal resources. I've learned more about medicine in these 3 months than in all the previous years combined." "What impressed you the most?" Edward asked. The doctor's ability to improvise solutions. They crafted surgical tools from recycled materials, developed suturing techniques using fishing line, and still managed to save lives. The experience in Alaska strengthened Ryan's conviction that he wanted to dedicate his career to bringing quality medicine to underserved communities. When he returned to San Diego, Ryan brought back several innovative ideas he had learned in the rural setting. "Dr. Miller," he proposed, "what if we created a research lab focused on developing low-cost medical solutions?" Explain that idea further. For example, in Alaska, I saw doctors using PVC pipes to make improvised chest drains. They work perfectly, cost 10 times less than manufactured ones, but aren't officially approved for medical use. And you want to develop official versions of these solutions? Exactly. Create low-cost alternatives that can be legally used in public hospitals across the country. The idea for the low-cost medical solutions lab was approved by the hospital board and became Ryan's final year project. During his 5th year of medical school, Ryan led a team of 10 students in developing 3 innovative products: a low-cost electric scalpel, a portable heart monitoring system, and a collapsible surgical table for use in remote communities. The products caught the attention of the Department of Health, which invited Ryan to present his inventions in Congress. "Dr. San Diego," said the Secretary of Health after the presentation, "your products could revolutionize medical care in the most underserved regions of the country." "Thank you, Secretary, but I'd like to clarify something. These products aren't meant to make money. I want them to be available free of charge to all public hospitals." "What do you mean?" "The patents for all products will be donated to the government. Any public hospital will be able to manufacture and use these solutions without paying royalties." Ryan's decision to donate the patents made headlines in newspapers across the country and brought international recognition to St. Vincent Medical Center. In his final year of medical school, Ryan faced a tough decision about which specialization to pursue. He had received residency offers in cardiology, general surgery, cardiac surgery, and even neurosurgery. "So, son," asked Rosemary, "have you decided which path to take?" "Actually, Mom, I want to do something different." "What?" "I want to create a new specialization, emergency medicine for remote regions." Ryan explained his idea: developing specific medical protocols for situations where no specialists were available, training general practitioners to handle complex cases with limited resources. "It's like specializing in being a generalist," he summarized, "knowing a little about everything, but knowing it very well." Ryan's proposal was accepted by the university as a pilot program for a multidisciplinary medical residency. During his residency, Ryan rotated through cardiology, general surgery, orthopedics, neurology, pediatrics, and internal medicine, always focusing on developing solutions for emergency situations with limited resources. At 25, Ryan completed his residency and received job offers from hospitals in Los Angeles, Miami, and even abroad. His decision once again surprised everyone. "I'm staying right here at St. Vincent Medical Center," he announced during his graduation party. "But Ryan," argued Michael Thompson, who had become almost a father figure to the young man, "you could earn so much more elsewhere." "Mr. Michael, do you remember what I said 10 years ago when you offered to fund my education? You said you wanted to use your knowledge to help people like us." "Exactly. And that's what I intend to do." Ryan took on the role of coordinator for the new Department of Emergency Medicine for remote regions at St. Vincent Medical Center, becoming the youngest physician to hold a leadership position in the institution's history. His first project as coordinator was ambitious, creating mobile medical teams that could quickly reach isolated communities during emergencies. "The idea is to have vans equipped with basic medical supplies and a multidisciplinary team that can handle everything from simple checkups to emergency surgeries," Ryan explained during the project presentation. The mobile team project was funded through a partnership between the City of San Diego, the state government, and local business leaders, including Michael Thompson. 6 months after implementation, the program had already served over 1,000 people in underserved communities in the region. "Dr. Ryan," said a 70-year-old woman during a visit to a neighborhood on the outskirts of San Diego. "You've given our community hope again. For years, no one came here to care for our health." "Mrs. Mary, this is just the beginning," Ryan replied. "The idea is that you'll never be neglected again." The mobile care program drew international attention, and Ryan was invited to present the model at conferences in Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. During one of these trips, Ryan met Dr. Catherine Morrison, a Canadian physician developing a similar project in Toronto. "Doctor, San Diego," said Catherine during a dinner after the conference, "I'd like to propose a partnership between our projects." "What kind of partnership?" "An exchange of knowledge and experience. My team could spend some time in the United States learning your techniques, and your team could come to Canada to see our methods." The partnership between the United States and Canada became the foundation of a North American emergency medicine network for remote regions. Within 2 years, the network included projects in the United States, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, New Zealand and Ireland, all virtually coordinated by Ryan from San Diego. "Dr. Williams," said the Dean of Harvard University during a video conference, "we'd like to invite you to be a visiting professor in our global medicine program." "It's an honor, Dean, but I need to stay in the United States. My work here is just beginning." "What if we offered a program where you could teach remotely, coming to Harvard only 2 weeks per semester?" Ryan considered the proposal. Teaching at Harvard could bring international visibility to his work, attracting more funding and partnerships for the projects in the US. "I can accept, but on one condition," said Ryan. "I want Harvard to create a full scholarship for 1 American student per year, preferably from a humble background, to study global medicine." "We agree," the dean replied immediately. At 30, Ryan had become a global reference in emergency medicine for vulnerable populations. His program in San Diego had expanded to 15 cities in the region, serving over 10,000 people a month. But his greatest achievement was just beginning. "Dr. Ryan," said Dr. Miller, now 75 and about to retire, "I'd like to make a proposal." "Go ahead, doctor. How would you feel about taking over as director of the hospital when I retire?" Ryan was silent for a long time. "Dr. Miller, I'm too young to be a hospital director." "Ryan, when you were 15, everyone said you were too young to assist in heart surgery. But you did it anyway and saved a life. But running a hospital is very different from—" "It is different, yes, it's an even greater responsibility. But I believe you're the right person to take this hospital to the next level." Ryan spoke with his family, with Edward, and with Michael before making his decision. "I accept," he announced finally, "but I want to make some important changes." "What changes?" asked Dr. Miller. "First, I want to turn St. Vincent Medical Center into the first public hospital in the country specialized in care for vulnerable populations. Second, I want to create a medical residency program specifically for doctors interested in working in underserved communities." "And third?" asked Dr. Miller, sensing there was more. "Third, I want the youth mentorship program that started with me to become a national model. I want to train a new generation of doctors who see medicine as a social mission, not just a profession." At 31, Ryan officially became the director of St. Vincent Medical Center, the youngest in the hospital's history. His inauguration was deeply moving. Present were Michael Thompson and his daughter Patricia, Edward Parker, Rosemary, Dr. Miller, and dozens of young people who had participated in the mentorship program over the years. 15 years ago, Ryan said in his inauguration speech, a boy from the outskirts entered this hospital as the nurse's son. Today, that same boy takes the helm of this institution. This was only possible because courageous people believe talent knows no social class, age, or skin color. The audience applauded, deeply moved. My commitment today is to ensure that other young people like me have the same opportunities I had, that this hospital remains a place where talent is recognized and nurtured, no matter where it comes from. After the ceremony, Ryan was approached by a journalist from the country's largest television network. "Dr. Williams, you've become something of a living legend in American medicine. How does it feel to be called the Prodigy who revolutionized medicine?" I'd rather just be called a doctor, Ryan replied with a smile. Prodigy was when I was 15. Today I'm just a doctor who was lucky enough to find people who believed in my potential. And what are your plans for the future? To keep doing what I've always done, using medicine to help those who need it most. The difference is that now I have more resources and responsibility to do it on a larger scale. 5 years after taking over as director, Ryan had completely transformed St. Vincent Medical Center. The institution became a national model for serving vulnerable populations, attracting visitors from around the world eager to learn about its methods. The social medicine residency program Ryan created graduated 20 doctors each year, all committed to serving underserved communities. The youth mentorship program had expanded to 50 hospitals across the United States. Dr. Williams, said the Secretary of Health during an official visit to the hospital, "Could your methods be applied nationwide?" "Secretary, they already are," Ryan replied. "We have partnerships with 230 public hospitals in 20 states. What's missing is official support from the federal government. And what would you need to get that support? Resources to establish a National Institute for Social Medicine, a research and training center that could develop and share medical solutions for vulnerable populations across the country." 6 months later, the National Institute for Social Medicine was founded, headquartered in San Diego, with Ryan as its national director. "Dr. Ryan," said Rosemary, now 65 and retired during the celebration dinner, "do you remember when I was afraid people would find out you knew medicine?" "I do, Mom. Now I'm afraid of the opposite, that people forget you're still human." Ryan laughed. "Mom, why would you say that?" "Because you've become such a public figure. Journalists want to interview you every week. Politicians want to associate with your work. Business people offer millions to fund your projects." "And is that bad?" "It's not bad, son, but I don't want you to forget where you came from and why you started all this." Ryan hugged his mother. "Mom, I promise I'll never forget that this all began because you had the courage to let me follow my dream, even when you were afraid." The following year, Ryan faced his biggest professional crisis yet. A group of conservative doctors launched a campaign questioning his methods, claiming he was lowering the standards of American medicine. "Dr. Williams is training second-rate doctors to treat the poor," the campaign leader said in a televised interview. "Medicine is medicine. There can't be different standards of care based on a patient's social class." The controversy divided the national medical community. Ryan chose to respond publicly. "I agree that medicine is medicine," he said during a press conference. "That's exactly why every American, regardless of their social status, deserves quality medical care. What we're doing isn't creating second-rate medicine. It's bringing first-rate medicine to those who've never had access to it." The controversy intensified when a group of conservative senators summoned Ryan to provide clarification before Congress. "Dr. Williams," questioned one of the senators, "don't you think you're distorting the noble medical profession with these welfare programs?" "Senator," Ryan replied calmly, "when I was 15, I saved a businessman's life using knowledge I gained from observing surgeries at a public hospital. If that knowledge was good enough to save a rich man's life, why wouldn't it be good enough to save a poor man's?" Ryan's response went viral on social media and sparked a wave of public support for his programs. A week after the congressional hearing, Ryan received an unexpected call. "Dr. Williams, this is Patricia Thompson." "Patricia, what a surprise. How are you?" "I'm well, thank you." "Doctor, I'm calling because I'd like to make a proposal." Patricia explained that she had pursued a career in hospital administration and now ran a network of private hospitals. "I'd like to create a partnership between my network and your social programs," she proposed. "My hospitals could treat patients who need more complex procedures that public hospitals can't provide." "That would be amazing, Patricia. But why do you want to do this?" "Because you saved my father 20 years ago, and I never forgot. Now I want to repay you by helping you save other families." The partnership between Patricia's private network and Ryan's public programs became an innovative model for social medicine, where private resources were used to expand public care. Within 5 years, the collaboration had benefited over 50,000 patients in need of complex surgeries or specialized treatments. "Dr. Ryan," said Michael Thompson, now 72, during a hospital visit. "You've accomplished far more than I ever imagined when I offered to fund your studies." "Mr. Michael, none of this would have been possible if you hadn't believed in me from the start." "Actually, Ryan, I'm the one who should thank you. You didn't just save my life, you gave meaning to my fortune. Every dollar I've invested in education over the years was worth it, just for having contributed to your journey." Michael paused, his eyes glistening. "And there's something else. You saved my family in a way that goes beyond medicine." "How so?" "Patricia found her true calling in hospital administration after seeing your work. My youngest son decided to study medicine because of you. You transformed my entire family." By age 40, Ryan had become an internationally respected figure. His methods were studied in universities worldwide, and he had received numerous awards for his contributions to social medicine. But his greatest achievement was yet to come. "Dr. Ryan," said one of the young participants in his mentorship program, "I want to be just like you when I grow up." "No," Ryan replied, "you should want to be better than me." "What do you mean?" "I had to break barriers to study medicine. You'll find doors already open. That means you can go further than I ever did." The young man, named Charlie, was the son of a janitor and had shown exceptional aptitude for neurology. "Dr. Ryan, do you really think I can become a neurosurgeon?" "Charlie, when I was your age, people doubted I could even be a doctor. Today, I lead a national institute. If I made it, so can you." 3 years later, Charlie became the youngest student ever admitted to medicine at the local federal university, at just 16 years old. "Dr. Ryan," said Charlie during his high school graduation ceremony, "I know I still have a lot to learn, but I want to promise you one thing. When I become a doctor, I'll create an even better program than yours." Ryan smiled, seeing in Charlie the continuation of a legacy that had begun 25 years earlier, when a 15-year-old boy had the courage to approach a desperate doctor and say he knew how to save a life. 15 years later, Dr. Charlie Brown became the youngest neurosurgeon in the country at 28 and created a national talent identification program in medicine that benefited young people across the United States. "Dr. Ryan," Charlie said during the launch of his program, "you were right. I was able to go further because I found open doors. And now I want to open even more doors for those who come after me." Ryan, now 55, watched the ceremony with pride, standing beside Rosemary, now 80 but still sharp and proud of her son. "Mom," Ryan whispered, "do you remember that day at the hospital when I was 15? How could I forget? It was the scariest and proudest day of my life." "I remember it too. And do you know what stands out most to me about that story?" "What?" "It wasn't the fact that I saved a life. It was the fact that you had the courage to let me try, even though you were afraid." Rosemary took her son's hand. "I always knew you were special, Ryan. Even as a child, you saw the world differently. My job was just not to get in your way. And you didn't. You were the first person to believe I could be a doctor." That night, Ryan returned home and opened an old photo album. There was one picture he had kept for 40 years, a photo of himself at 15, wearing green scrubs at St. Vincent Medical Center, standing beside Richard, Edward, Rosemary, and even Dr. Miller. On the back of the photo, his mother had written, "The day my son saved a life and discovered his calling." Ryan smiled, remembering every detail of that day, which had changed his life forever. The man he had become, the lives he had saved, the young people he had inspired. It all began in that moment when a teenager had the courage to say, "I know how to help." The next morning, Ryan woke up early and went to St. Vincent Medical Center, where it had all started. The hospital was now 3 times larger, serving 10 times as many patients, and had become a global leader in social medicine. He walked into the operating room where, at 15, he had guided his first surgery. The room had been renovated and modernized, but its essence remained the same. A place where lives were saved and dreams came true. "Good morning, Dr. Ryan," greeted a young resident. "You're here early today." "Yes, Dr. Amanda. I like to come here sometimes to remember how it all began." "Is it true you operated in this room when you were 15? Ryan laughed. "Not exactly. I guided a surgery. There's an important difference." What difference? Guiding a surgery means recognizing you can't do everything alone. It means trusting others and letting them trust you. That's what makes medicine really work. Amanda considered the director's words. Dr. Ryan, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Have you ever regretted any decision you've made in medicine? Ryan thought for a moment. You know, Amanda, I regret one thing. Taking so long to realize my role wasn't just to heal people myself, but to train other doctors who could heal even more. What do you mean? For a long time, I thought my mission was to personally treat as many patients as possible, but then I realized my true mission was to teach other doctors to do the same. Multiply the impact, not just maximize it. Amanda smiled. That's why your mentorship program is so important. Exactly. Every young person we train can save thousands of lives over their career. It's simple math. A well-trained doctor is worth more than any single surgery I could perform. At that moment, Ryan's phone rang. It was an international call. Dr. Williams, this is Dr. James Mitchell from the World Health Organization. Hello, Dr. Mitchell. How can I help you? Dr. Williams, the WHO would like to invite you to lead a global social medicine project. It would be a program to implement your methods in developing countries around the world. Ryan fell silent for a moment, looking around the operating room where it had all begun. Dr. Mitchell, it's an honor to receive this invitation, but I need some time to think. Of course, there's no rush. Could you give me an answer by the end of the month? Certainly. After hanging up, Ryan stayed in the room for a few more minutes, reflecting on the offer. Leading a global project would mean constant travel, leaving San Diego, stepping away from the people who had made his career possible. On the other hand, it could bring his ideas to millions of people worldwide. Dr. Ryan, said Amanda, who had overheard the conversation, that sounded like an important call. It was. The WHO wants me to lead a global social medicine project. Wow, that's incredible. Are you going to accept? I don't know yet, Amanda. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but it would also mean leaving everything I've built here. Dr. Ryan, can I give my opinion? Of course. You always teach us that medicine is about multiplying impact. If you take this project, you'll be able to multiply everything you've learned here for the whole world, and we'll keep applying your teachings here. Ryan smiled. Amanda had perfectly summarized his dilemma. That night, Ryan talked to Rosemary about the WHO's proposal. Son, you've already done more than anyone could expect, his mother said. If you want to accept this project, I support you. If you want to stay here, I support that too. Mom, what would you do in my place? Ryan, when you were 15, I had to choose between protecting you from the world or letting you share your talent with the world. I chose the second option, and it was the best decision of my life. And now? Now you have to make the same choice I did 40 years ago. Stay in your comfort zone or take a risk to do something even greater. The following week, Ryan made his decision. Dr. Mitchell, he said during a call to the WHO, I accept leading the project, but with a few conditions. What conditions? First, I want to keep my base in San Diego. I'll travel when necessary, but this is my home. Second, I want the National Institute for Social Medicine to be an official partner. Third, I want assurance that the methods developed here will be adapted to each local culture, not imposed uniformly. All conditions are acceptable, Dr. Williams. When can you start? Next Monday. The Global Social Medicine Project, led by Ryan, became the largest public health program in WHO history. Within 5 years, it had benefited over 50 million people in 80 countries. But for Ryan, the most memorable moment of the project wasn't a statistic or an international award. It was when he received a letter from a young doctor in Ghana. Dr. Williams, my name is Benjamin Kofi, and I wanted to tell you a story. 3 months ago, a 14-year-old boy came to my hospital with symptoms I couldn't diagnose. I was about to give up when the boy said he knew someone who could help, an American doctor who had created a program to teach poor young people to become doctors. That boy had watched his online classes and recognized the symptoms of a rare disease. Thanks to his program, I was able to save that child's life. Thank you for showing that medicine knows no borders. Ryan kept that letter in a special folder, along with hundreds of other similar stories he received from around the world. At 60 years old, Ryan decided it was time to retire from his roles as hospital and institute director to dedicate himself fully to writing. He wanted to document everything he had learned throughout his career for future generations. His first book, The Boy Who Saved a Life: How Social Medicine Can Transform the World, became an international bestseller and was translated into 30 languages. During the book launch in the United States, Ryan was asked by a young journalist, "Dr. Williams, if you could go back in time and give advice to that 15-year-old boy who walked into an operating room for the first time, what would you say?" Ryan thought for a moment. "I'd say, trust yourself, but never forget you're not alone. There's always someone willing to help, and there's always someone who needs your help. Your mission in life is to be the bridge between those two realities." 5 years later, at 65, Ryan received news that he had been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for his contributions to global social medicine. "Dr. Ryan," said Charlie, now director of the National Medical Talent Program, "you deserve this award more than anyone." "Charlie, if I win this prize, it will be in the name of all the people who made my work possible. Starting with my mother, who had the courage to let me try, to Dr. Richard, who believed in me, to Edward, who taught me, to Dr. Miller, who supported me, and all the way to you and all the young people who carried these ideas forward." On the day of the Nobel ceremony in Oslo, Ryan took the stage at 70 to receive the award, accompanied by Rosemary, now 95 but determined to witness that historic moment. "This prize isn't mine," Ryan said during his acceptance speech. "This prize belongs to all the underprivileged youth of the world who have talent but lack opportunity. It belongs to all the doctors who chose to work in underserved communities when they could have earned more elsewhere. It belongs to all the mothers who, like mine, had the courage to let their children dream big, even when it seemed impossible." The audience applauded emotionally, but Ryan wasn't finished. 55 years ago, a 15-year-old boy walked into an operating room and said he knew how to save a life. Today, millions of people worldwide have access to quality medical care because that boy had the courage to speak up. The message I want to leave is simple: never underestimate the power of a young person with a dream and adults willing to believe in that dream. After the ceremony, Ryan was approached by a 12-year-old girl who was part of the American delegation. "Doctor, Ryan, I want to be a doctor like you when I grow up," the girl said. "What's your name?" Ryan asked, crouching to her eye level. "Megan." "Megan, I'll give you the same advice I received at your age. Study hard, dream big, and never let anyone tell you that you can't achieve something because of your age, background, or anything other than your dedication. Do you really think I can be a doctor?" "Megan, if you want to be a doctor, you're already on the right path. The rest is just hard work and perseverance." 10 years later, Dr. Megan Smith graduated from medical school at 22 and created an innovative telemedicine program for children in rural communities, directly inspired by Ryan's work. "Dr. Ryan," said Megan during a tribute celebrating the doctor's 80th birthday, "you were right. Dreaming big really works." Ryan, now with completely white hair, but still with the same sparkle in his eyes from 50 years ago, smiled at the young doctor. "Megan, you didn't just dream big. You dreamed better than I ever did. Your telemedicine program is saving lives in ways I never imagined possible." "That was only possible because you paved the way," Megan replied. "No, Megan, I only showed that dreaming was possible. You proved that dreams can have no limits." End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your heartfelt thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Ryan made the right decisions throughout his journey? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like the video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories.